Welcome back. It's the last episode of my Knightfall read-through coverage. So in case you missed the previous episodes here, I read the Knightfall storyline over the summer of 2023 with my kids. It was the 30th anniversary. We did it in like a weekly installment kind of real-time read. I wanted them to experience it the way I experienced it. For the most part, we started a little late, a couple weeks in there. If you're interested in their reactions, I did cover it as I read it weekly. I was posting it on my Instagram account. Please go there and check those out. I have a story highlight, so the posts are easy to find, but I always did a kid take on it. So even though I do mention through these videos some of what they were thinking, when I was posting those, it was more in real time, and I kind of, we would read it. I would post it a day or two later, so it's like their reactions were fresh in my mind. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into this next chapter here. Another great Kelly Jones cover. We get the Jim Ballant designed Catwoman costume. So now we got Bruce Wayne laid out, but he's awake. Bane starts taking over the underworld, like completely taking it over. We go through these kind of quickly here. So Bane's taking over the underworld while Alfred and Robin are kind of deciding what should be done next about Bruce and his help. Alfred's, kind of like, my medical abilities have been exhausted. We're going to need some more help. We can't take him directly to a hospital. Let's get him upstairs. Getting a little more Jean-Paul. He's around, at least in this. And, he's like, Alfred's kind of telling him to go shore up the security system. I guess so Bane can't come back. Although at this point, Bane feels like Batman's done. He's broken Batman, and it's done. It's time to just completely take over Gotham City. They decide to do a car wreck. So they go out and smash up his car with hammers, and like, this isn't going to get the job done. We need to push it off the side of a building or of the cliff. So they take it down and push it off the side. Meanwhile, of course, you got a little bit of the fallout with the police. Meanwhile, they decide to call this Dr. Chandra to come up and check it out. And there's here, we have all the equipment you need. We've got an MRI machine, random wheelchair just there. He's like, we have everything you need to basically be his personal doctor. Here's where our cover comes in. We see Catwoman going in to, crack a safe. And as she is about to leave, it turns out it was a little bit of a setup by Bane's lackeys there. Bruce Wayne wakes up and she says something about the car. And he's like, the car? And he's like, yes, the Porsche. It's in quite a mess. You took quite a hit to the head. You must not remember. As she's looking at the x-rays, though, she's like, these are not consistent with a car crash. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to hang out and help you guys out. And when you're ready to tell me the real story, I'm here to listen to it. But until then, I will help Bruce. And she's not bitter or angsty about it or snippy about it at all. She genuinely cares, but she knows there's more to the story than this car wreck. And I don't know, it almost seems like they were building up a relationship with the two of them. At least she's, has some feelings for him. And of course, Batman always pushes women away because he's too busy being Batman. So I don't know what the build up there was before this. She is Tim Drake's, who he has a disability as well. And she is his doctor as well. Must be nice to have these on-call health doctors when you live in the Wayne cul-de-sac. Anyway, Bane's just taken over at this point. And they come to the conclusion that Jean-Paul needs to wear the cowl because there needs to be a Batman out there. The only thing that Bruce says is don't let him confront Bane. So now we got a blonde Batman. I kind of draw him looking like Bruce Wayne with blonde hair. Bane has kind of tried to set up Catwoman, mostly just because he wants to talk to her, wants her to do something for him. She's kind of like, what's in it for me? She's like, yeah, I'll do it if there's something in it for me. But like, I don't work for you. I work with you. Yeah. Because he said, then you'll work for me? Never. But I will work with you. And then we have Batman and Robin showing up. Jim Gordon, I guess he just tries. He wants, I don't know why he turned it on, because he already knew Robin needed the medicine to stabilize him. Maybe he was hoping just Robin would show up. So Robin shows up with Batman. There you are. You're all right then? Not quite what I was, but I'll get there. And when I do, Bane will have hell itself to pay. And you got Bruce Wayne laying in his bed, seeing the bat signal, and the shadow of the bat looming over. And he's thinking to himself how he's going to tell Chandra everything about Batman. Is he going to do it? Is he going to reveal his secret identity? If it was a movie, he would have already done it in the second act. Maniacal Batman. This one did like kind of, I mean, the kids kind of laughed at it. They're like, what is he doing? He's got that like bat and stuff. And they like his big ears like that. And it's kind of reminiscent of that other cover in a way, where you've got Batman wailing on the Joker and Ghost of Jason Todd Robin cheering him on. But in this one, you've got maniacal looking Batman with, completely disgusted Tim Drake Robin in the background. So right off the bat, we start seeing Jean Paul just being way too aggressive. Graham Nolan back on it again here. That bat hitting that guy in the head, or hammer. So they just go to take out these low-level thugs. I love that. That's a great maniacal-looking Batman face. It's a good shot, too. Oh, this whole page is pretty good. Good layout. These are just low-level guys, and they're more or less just doing it, trying to get the word out that Batman is still around. He's still on the scene. He's still doing stuff. Here's Bruce trying to get in touch with Dr. Chandra, who's, I think, over at Tim Drake's dad. So that's Tim Drake's dad. And she's his doctor, too. And their housekeeper lady is exiting, and you see this gun poking out. So Bruce wants to know what's going on, why he can't get a hold of it. So he just wheels his wheelchair over there. Like I said, they must just live in a cul-de-sac together. Maybe somebody in the comments can tell me, like, hey, why did Tim Drake basically live next door? Was he already his neighbor? Or did, like, Bruce Wayne put them up in, like, the guest house or something? So here's Bane looking over his plans for Gotham, and they're kind of like, hey, we're hearing rumors of Batman coming back. And they're like, it's not him. That Batman's not even worth worrying about. And he actually encountered Jean Paul. This isn't the first time he wore the Batman costume. He did it once before when Batman was sick before the storyline started, and Bane confronted him, and I think, whipped him pretty good that time too. So you already have a little bit of vengeance happening with Jean Paul here. And then if you had read the Azrael series, which I did in my first video covering the storyline, you would see that he's got like some subliminal programming into him by this Order of St. Dumas that his father was from, and they programmed it into him too, and it doesn't come out until he puts the Azrael costume on, but it apparently comes out even when he's wearing just any costume, and he becomes like an angel of vengeance or something. I mean, he's not a real like angel, but he's just like, you know, like a knight for the Saint Dumas. Cool Batman shot there. That's what any artist needs to do, is just fill up the book with cool Batman poses. Bruce Wayne's taking on these like terrorist guys who are coming to the Drake's house from his wheelchair. And he takes a few out, even though he is only, a day or two recovering from having his back broken and thrown off the top of a building. Don't let anyone ever tell you that Batman is just a rich guy with some gadgets. He's clearly got something else going on. So he does assess this situation and realize it's a little bit much. Meanwhile, these are like union bosses, I guess corrupt union bosses, and they're meeting up in this like skybox thing that has these like long catwalks to get to it. And one of them is trying to convince them to like vote in a certain way to work with Bane, and he's doing it because he has his Bane has his family. So even though they're not supposed to, Jean-Paul jumps in just without Robin. He's like, wait. So he just jumps in, starts beating him. So Bruce sees Chandra being taken, and Tim Drake's dad's already been taken, and he tries to stop some, and like knocks one more out. Juxtaposed with Batman beating up on these Union guys who are all armed. Robin jumps down there to help. Bruce finally gets knocked out of his wheelchair and is determined that it's, he's done. I guess that's his wheelchair spokes. And he's pretty helpless right there. But they decide to just leave him. They're like, yeah, he's like, no reason to do anything with him. We got what we need. Let's get out of here. So they leave him alive. Alfred comes over to be like, Master Bruce, what are you doing? Like, you're in a wheelchair. You can't go over there and try to take out armed terrorists or whatever those people are. Get this like maniacal grinning Jean-Paul. If I call him Jean-Luc, I'm just having a Star Trek flashback. But Jean-Paul, maniacal smile through the mask there. And he purposely knocks him off. Robin goes to help him because he's going to fall. These guys aren't like super strong or anything. They're just dudes. And he goes to terrorize the lead guy whose family's being held hostage. My kids, geez, he's got my kids. And Jean-Paul's like, even though he was told, don't take on Bane, now he's already trying to set something up to meet with Bane. All right, getting towards the end here. Look like Jean-Paul is going to have a big confrontation with Bruce Wayne in this issue, right? That's what we're leading up to. Basically just picking up on that same spot. Back to some Jim Aparo. Bruce takes the mask of the terrorist guy he got, and he's gonna do a little detective work. And he sees traces of like malaria, he says. And they track it back to the island that Bane is from. He's been vaccinated against this malaria. The kidnapper has not contracted malaria, Alfred. He's been vaccinated against it. And there's Bane watching the stuff, and Bird comes in like, hey, this new Batman, like, what are we gonna do about it? And he's like, the Batman? The Batman is not back. It's not him. It's nothing but a costume. So he's totally dismissing him, and rightfully so, really. After what he already accomplished. I guess this was Robin's little entrance to the Batcave at his house. He had this like well that he could like drain. Seemed like that'd take a few minutes and then fill back up. It'll make a lot of noise. Anyway, he heads up and he just passes out. Doesn't even notice his dad's gone. He's worn out from trying to play babysitter to Jean-Paul. So here's where I think he determines, somewhere in here, he determines that, yeah, it's from this. Oh, he calls Oracle. And she asks questions like, how does it feel to be in the chair? You get used to it. And he's like, he kind of ignores some of the questioning there. I hope that you, unlike me, find your way out of it. Goodbye. She knows, Alfred. Indeed, sir. What does the Oracle not know? Santa Prisca. Yeah, that's the island that Bane grew up on in the prison. So here comes Jean-Paul. He comes in, and they don't have a big confrontation. I mean, pretty much Batman's like, I'm going out for a while. Like, I'm leaving the country for a bit. You hold down the fort. Don't take on Bane, though. And just you and Robin just keep Gotham under control. And he's just like, yes, it's mine. Not his. Mine. And then he just like goes into a trance and starts drawing and doesn't even realize what he drew. And when he looks at it, he's like, I drew this? And it's these crazy looking gloves that he builds. And they're kind of silly looking. Then Robin comes and he's like, what are you doing now? Still doesn't notice his dad's gone. Decided to just come back to the Batcave. And Jean-Paul just takes off without him after they have like a little words. Because he's going to this, like where he got the note. He got the setup with the union leaders to get the kids back and such. And he's going there to confront Bane. But Bane is not there. It is his lackeys, and he captures them. He gets the kids back in a very brutal way. Robin does trail him and shows up too. And he's kind of like, yeah, I knew you were there. And on the plane, Selena Kyle is in the loo. Oh, I skipped over that whole part. She comes to get on the plane. Yeah, okay. So Selena Kyle, they go to get on their private jet to go to Santa Prisca. Selena Kyle's there trying to get a flight to Santa Prisca. There's no flights available. She hears about the private flight that's going, so she goes there and tries to ask the person on the private flight to give her a ride. It's Bruce Wayne. They act like they don't know each other, which I guess, I don't know. Do they know each other or not know each other in this timeline of post-crisis Batman? I don't know, but they act like they certainly don't know each other. And he basically kicks her out. And then we cut back to the stuff with Jean-Paul as Batman. And then when we get back on the flight, she has stowed away in the bathroom, and now she's on the flight. That's a weird pose. And Tim finally goes home and finds the note from Bruce, or from Alfred, saying, like, your dad and Dr. Chandra have been taken. We're on our way to get them. So Robin he's left with, oh, your dad's been kidnapped, but don't worry. The busted up Bruce Wayne and Alfred are on the case. And meanwhile, you take care of the psychopath that we've left in charge to be the new Batman. And maybe it was always meant to be just like a temporary thing, like even like to the fans, but so much upheaval was going on with Batman or with Superman at the time, and it really seemed like they're replacing Bruce Wayne, at least for the foreseeable future. All right, chapter 18, we're going to get Jean-Paul confronting Bane. This is an awesome cover because he does not have the stupid gloves on. This could be the Bruce Wayne Batman if you were to, say, buy this original art. Although, some interesting light choices coming up right here. Back to Graham Nolan. Graham Nolan would make a good Spider-Man artist. He puts Batman and Robin in some pretty Spider-Man-y poses. So here's our gauntlet. It shoots out the grappling hook like out of the palm of his hand. It doesn't seem practical at all. This was a cool scene with him visiting Gordon, and he's having after Gordon gives him some information, and he turns his head down, and then when he looks up, and he's like, my God, and you turn the page. Something wrong, Commissioner? You're still here. So, usually I turn and you're gone. I wasn't certain we were finished talking. That never stopped you before. I'll be going then. So, nice little play on, the way Bruce Wayne operates as Batman versus how this Jean Paul is going to operate. So he had captured Bane's henchmen, Trog and Zombie and Bird, in the previous issue, and now it looks like they're about to be busted out. But we get a little Batman cape right here. So, Bird gets a bag, says, "Watch and wait." B. So they escape. There's a ladder with like a helicopter, or maybe that's just to get them on the roof. They escape, and up here is watching Batman. So this is a great panel, really. With Batman watching at the top right here, and them like running off. And at that point, like, wait, that's not Bane busting them out. The B is for Batman. So Tim wakes up, and the housekeeper did not get abducted. I guess they let her go. They let her leave, and she came back to make breakfast. And I think the cover story is that he just went on an unexpected traveling trip. And Graham Nolan doing a good young looking Tim Drake there. Eyes a little awkward right there, but so he's following them back to Bane. And they show up, and Bane's like, "I did not aid your release, but the note, the gas mask, the lock pads." He's idiots. Because immediately he knows what's up. And here comes Jean Paul Batman. Pretty awesome shot, kicking in the window. Quickly dispenses of Trog and Bird and Zombie again, and wants to go straight to Bane. Bane goes ahead and he puts his costume on. And they go back and forth about like, you can't beat me because I'm better than you, stronger than you. That can be adjusted. And so he hits his Venom, pumps up on Venom, and they have a pretty good throwdown. And it's a better throwdown in a lot of ways than what Bruce and Bane had, because Bruce was so beaten down. Stabs him in the leg with his... They shoot him there, and was it just his claw? Yeah, he shot like a shirt. He has these like bat-shaped shurikens that fire from the goofy gauntlets. Shoots him in the leg. And then they're out. I don't know if they're outside or like it's like a plaza, but then they're on like girders. That's a little awkward how that's like staged. So it's like, are they on a building that's being built, and this is just like an outside like atrium area? I don't know. But they're on like construction girders now. They were in Bane's. I would assume he was in like a penthouse of some sort. And they go at it for a minute, and it ends up though like the Jean Paul Batman falls, but gets his leg caught in this rope, and Bane pulls the shuriken out of his leg and is going to cut the rope. And that's our cliffhanger for the big finale. And see, this has already been seen a bunch. When I was reading this with the kids, I was wanting to kind of hold off to show it to them, but like even in the other ones, and I didn't pause and stop at it, but there's like ads for those like mail order comic companies that already had that costume in the ads, like probably a month ahead. And I'm sure it was already in like the previews or advanced comics at the time. But, it's like people on the newsstand that were buying it on the newsstand weren't looking at that stuff. Anyway, and the newsstand was still pretty big in 93. Anyway, so here's the big finale, and this is one of the top-selling comics of 1993. I think it came in at like number 6. the 5 issues of The Return of Superman were 1 through 5. No, I'm sorry. I guess it would come in at number 7, because 1 through 5 were the 5 issues of the Return of Superman storyline, the debut issues, and then Turok, and then this. So I don't know if it would have edged Turok if you included not just this cover, but the standard cover as well. But this particular one did come in at number 7. Pretty neat, like, opening thing. This is a Joe Quesada cover. Now, Joe Quesada at this point is, he did do the Sword of Azrael story. He designed this costume, and he did this cover, but he didn't really do anything else with DC at this point. I mean, he was 93. I think at this point he was doing X Factor, and then he would go do on some creator-owned stuff. So kind of interesting that they had Quesada come on just for this one cover. These like postcards in here, kind of an extra thing they give you. I think it's in the back. You got the classic Batman and the new Batman on the postcards. That looks like a Aparo. Yep, classic by Jim Aparo. And this one is by Mike Manley. So yeah, and Aparo does half of this issue, and Mike Manley, who's going to be a new artist going forward on the Batman title, going to do the other half. First half, we're going to wrap up this little part with Bane. Of course, he has more shurikens loaded up in that thing. It's like an automatic shuriken firer. So he shoots him out of Bane's thing. He purposely snaps the rope because he can catch himself with his grappling hook that fires out of his other gauntlet. But he falls awkwardly. That's an interesting tumble. And lands in the water, face down, splash. A lot of people out here. That's why I'm like, is this outside? Is it like, I thought it was like in a mall or something. Because here comes Bane. He like jumps out. There he runs through a door. Yeah, see, there's like this. Now it seems like they're inside. Unless he's running into a building over here. I couldn't figure that. That's why I thought they were in like a mall. Maybe it's just the lobby of the place that Bane was staying, but like part of it was under construction. Unclear. Harbor Gate. So Bane kind of escapes for the moment, and Jean-Paul heads back to the Batcave too. Meanwhile, Tim calls like a girlfriend and is like, I want to talk, but I'm too busy to talk, so I know I called you, but I got to go. Bye. And then she updated her Facebook status as it's complicated. So let's see. Here we got Bullock eating some food again. He's got a bag of donuts. Robin goes back to the Batcave. There's Jean-Paul doing some one-arm pull-ups with his gauntlets on, but no shirt. And they just argue. This is a neat idea, the way to do these panels, at least to keep the reading fluid. And he basically tells Robin, I'm going to do things my way better than Bruce. You can hang around, but like, otherwise just don't get in my way. And he's kind of like, all right, I won't. And then he goes into his trance and starts designing the new costume. Meanwhile, you've got something going on with Gordon here. I can't even remember. He's still in his trance. So here's something too. This dog has been around. Maybe this is the security guy who told him to take care of. Well, this dog shows up. He notices the dog and he's like, oh yeah, there's those cameras. And he goes over and like smashes a camera out. And then this guy, he must live in the Batcave. We haven't seen him the entire storyline. Who is this guy? Now, in an issue earlier, Alfred told him to go get somebody to shore up security. Is that this guy? I don't know. He's got a generator hooked up right there. But it makes no sense. Like, where did this guy come from? Who is he? I haven't seen him in 19 parts of this story. This is the first time I'm seeing him. Anyway, so Bane goes to check on, his henchmen, and they're like, "Are you going to break us out?" Nope. I'm just going to go take out this new Batman. This was a pretty cool sequence here of Robin and Nightwing showing up, and he's kind of like, "Why didn't you ask me?" Or why didn't he ask me? And he said, "You're your own man. Figured you were too busy. Do your own thing, yada yada." And then he kind of explains to Nightwing what's been going on, and Nightwing's like, "Okay, well, looks like you got this under control. I'm taking off. I'm going back to do my own thing again. I'm not gonna stick around and help with this situation. Sounds like you got it under control." Bane goes to get some more venom. You'd think you'd want Zombie out to just help hook up the venom. I think Zombie made the venom too. He's not the inventor of the venom, but he knew the recipe to keep it in supply. Bruce Wayne arrives on the island of Santa Prisca, and I think that's about all the Bruce Wayne stuff we get. So Gotham City apparently has this big digital sign here that is manually operated at all hours of the day. There's no automation on it. Bane goes in there to take over the sign. Kills the dude in his wake. Robin goes back to the Batcave one more time. He's like, "All right, let's talk this over. I don't want to bug you, but Paul." And then he sees it and he's like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me." And then we get our first shot by Mike Manley of the new Bat costume. And there's aspects of this costume I like. I hate the gloves. I kind of like this part a lot. I hate this stupid leg pouch belt thing that was so prevalent in the 90s. But this part right here is kind of neat. I like the mask that completely encloses him, the collarbone thing with the light in it. It was neat. It's not that I would want that to be the permanent look for Batman, but I thought it was kind of a neat, upgrade at the time. And Mike Manley does a pretty good job on these pages. They're a little darker, a little edgier. I don't know if it's the inking too. Anyway, he goes on to take on Batman. That's a great silhouetted shot. He does the gloves a little better. He makes them look more rounded, like a round, and then coming to an edge, off of the finger, as opposed to just looking like blades. So while I still think the gloves are terrible, I think he does a better job of drawing. We'll see how did Quesada do them. Yeah, Quesada did them where it looked kind of rounded, but then kind of bladed out. But Aparo makes them just look like knives. He didn't understand it. And we just get another big Batman Bane throwdown here. Bane just jumps through the sign at him. That's pretty cool. I like the coloring on that as well. Pretty cool shot of Bane coming down, smashing a car. And the police are just going to hang back and watch. This is like a high noon standoff right here. And like I said, the police are just going to stand back and watch. I guess Bane's coming. Bane looks like he's going to make the first move, but the Batman does. Shoots his shurikens. Bane blocks him with his arm. And then he comes in for the punch. Rips some of his mask off. And then you kind of get an opposite reaction. Although Bane puts up more of a fight than Bruce Wayne did, you're pretty much going to get mostly Jean-Paul coming out on top here. Except for this one part where Bane gets on top, and there's where you see the light flash that blinds him. And if you really get into the details, some good faces here too by Manley. Mike Manley's pretty good. I don't know what else he's done. I'm assuming he stayed on the Batman title after this for a bit. He's pretty solid. It's too bad he had to deal with this crazy Batman suit. Hopefully he got to stay on it long enough to get the real suit back. Bane kind of flees for a minute, gets on a subway car. You can't have a good superhero fight without, being on a train of some sort. Good sense of speed right there. Crashing through the thing. So I think Bane went through and like amped it up to full speed, of course. I think Robin comes in here in a minute, and yeah. They continue to fight on the subway car. It's not a subway car. I guess it's like a elevated train. Robin comes in and separates the passenger cars, though. So now it's just the front car speeding along while they continue their fight. And it crashes. It goes off the turn into the building. Yep, so it falls, hits that fire hydrant, adds just a little bit of this like element of rain. But it's really the fire hydrant. Falling water. And they're all going to watch and see what this new Batman does. Is he going to kill Bane? What's he going to do? And he's like, come on, Jean-Paul. Beat the system. Overcome it, please. So the system is the thing that's in Jean-Paul's like subconscious. That's how he designed this costume and stuff without even really knowing what he was doing. That is part of the Azrael series that you kind of had to know. But I mean, other than what I just said, that it's the system. It was just pre-programmed into him as a child. And that's all you get out of the Azrael series. And that's all you really need to know. But you just need to know it was called the system. So he's saying beat the system because the Azraels were assassins, more or less. And he does. He holds back. He doesn't kill Bane. He just has him nice and beaten for the police to take in. Robin comes over and he's like, hey, you made the right choice. That makes me wrong about one thing. You have earned it. Earn the right. Earn the costume, new or old. And I guess you are the Batman. And he just says, thanks, kid. And takes off. So, I read this when it came out back in the day. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it through the summer. I stuck with the following storylines, which I think were called Night Quest and Night's End, maybe, or maybe it was called Night Quest, and it had like two branches. One was the Bruce Wayne branch, and one was the Jean-Paul branch. I think the Jean-Paul stayed in Batman, while Detective Comics went on to be like the Bruce Wayne looking for Tim Drake's dad storyline. And I think when it split up like that, it lost my interest pretty quick. I probably only stayed on for about 2 or 3 months worth. And it may not have been, I don't think it was weekly anymore after that. Then it may have gone back to being monthly. So I probably stuck with it for about 3 months. So about, 2 issues of each title. And I didn't stay on after that. And I kind of popped back in when I think Dick Grayson came back for like at least a few issues as Batman before Bruce Wayne finally came back as Batman for the time being until Dick Grayson would do it again like some 20 years later. The legacy of this storyline, I think it was too many parts. I mean, look, we had 19 parts of this storyline. I think it was too many parts. I think it drug on a little long, and there's reasons for that I think were necessary. And like, you do want to show that Batman was, getting worn out, that he was having to go through a lot to be able to be beaten. Because, Batman's always been prepared. If he has prep time, he can beat anybody. But ultimately, I think the legacy of this story is strong in that, like, the idea of Bane and breaking the Batman, breaking his back, is still one that appeals to a lot of people. It's an evergreen title these are always in print, pretty much in trade paperback form. And if you ask me, what is a good Batman story to read other than like The Dark Knight Returns and Year One? It's hard for me to elevate this up to that level, but it kind of is in a way, that it's one of those ones that if somebody's new to Batman and you want to be like, okay, here's an iconic storyline of Batman. And, most people loved it. I mean, I really enjoyed it when it was coming out. I did not like Jean-Paul going forward, though. And Bruce Wayne, doing detective work from a wheelchair didn't hold my teenager attention at the time. I have thought about maybe picking up the trade of those. Like I said, I did read this with my kids, and they were kind of interested what happens next. I told them I probably wasn't going to read it with them, but I would get the trade if they really wanted to. But honestly, they were more interested in the Superman stuff and what was going to happen with it, because we were reading it at the same time too. I kind of felt the same way back in the day myself. I read this and The Reign of Superman were coming out at the same time, and I definitely enjoyed the Superman stuff post The Reign of Superman more than I enjoyed the Batman stuff post The Reign of Superman. I would still end up dropping the Superman stuff within about a year, too, just because it was too much. It went on to some better storylines. What else can I really say about it? So that's pretty much going to wrap up my coverage of this storyline. Until next time, read your comics.